Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind-The Mixtape. This is the episode where we discuss 10 albums chosen by each of us, myself, Michael, and John on the other side, from a certain year. We are now into the year 1988. So, we're going to go through our top 10 list. No in particular order, I don't think. John, you didn't do yours in any particular order this time, did you?
Not really. Kind of, but no.
Hey, don't change the rules on me now. Alright, so while I get drunk from a hideous day of work and he gets drunk from a... Did you work today?
No, but it's been a long 3 weeks of 6-day work weeks.
So we're going to chill, relax. It's hot as shit down here. I feel like throwing a whole bunch of popsicles down my trousers. So let's get to it. What is your first one?
Alright, so my first one's going to be Megadeth. So far, so good, so what? And this is like one of those albums I think kind of gets lost in the shuffle of Megadeth albums because it follows the magnificent Peace Sells and it precedes, like also magnificent Rust in Peace. So you kind of get this album that's kind of there. It's not that it didn't do well or anything like that, but no one ever says, "Oh yeah, the best album is totally So Far So Good, So What?" Even though it has like their cover of Anarchy in the UK. It's got the Cliff Burton tribute song, In My Darkest Hour. There's Hook and Mouth, which is Attack on the PMRC. There's a lot of good stuff in this album.
Yeah, for me, it's almost there. But I'm waiting for the next one. This is when I started getting into Megadeth, is with Rust in Peace. So the first two I'm okay with, but they would never make my list.
Yeah, it's like their very first album, Killing Is My Business, is but it's, Peace Sells, as I had mentioned when we were talking about the 86, in the 86 show, where it's going, it's kind of for me, it's almost their masterpiece, although I'll also give it to a couple of albums that happened in the 90s too, but this one, very much, it's so odd because it has the first Megadeth song ever written, because Set the World Afire was the song that Mustaine wrote after getting kicked out of Metallica.
Okay.
And it's like, and this album, it's a short album, so there's not a whole heck of a lot to say. I've already basically, I think, went down every single song except Liar, which is a song about Chris Poland, who apparently... the band's former guitarist who had been fired for allegedly selling band equipment for heroin.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so it's a lean, 9-track album, and it moves quickly, and as I said, it has a Sex Pistols cover on it, so...
So I struggled with my top 10, again, just like last year, and I'm probably going to struggle next year. It's the 90s where I really kick into high gear. So you're going to see a lot of stuff on here I just threw in because I needed 10. So AC/DC, Blow Up Your Video, not even close to being their top albums, but it's just a nice, I'm comfortable. This sounds like AC/DC. Had Heat Seeker, I think, is a great first track. That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll and Mean Streak are a really great way to start the album off. The rest is just your typical AC/DC stuff. Not a whole lot to say, but if you love AC/DC, it's right in that little spot for you.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like it's like Motorhead. When I brought in Motorhead, they kind of have this straightforward. If you hear a album, you kind of have an idea of what another album's going to sound like, different about them than anything like they bring to the table musically. Like you mentioned Mean Streak, which kind of has this David Bowie fame thing going in it a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I definitely feel like someone could mash these two songs up and it would be pretty cool.
I do feel like they're phoning it in somewhat, and I think they knew this. That's why they took a couple years to really put together The Razor's Edge, which is their big comeback album. So I think they were just like, look guys, we're really just doing the playbook here. Let's do something different.
Yeah, it's definitely not their strongest effort. Although it's one of those things where, thinking about it, I go, I keep forgetting that they put out albums in the 80s, because every time I think about it, I'm always thinking of all the stuff they released in the 70s. I just kind of put that in the 80s. Like, oh yeah, For Those About to Rock or High Voltage. That was like an '82 album, wasn't it?
All right, what's your next one?
My next one is NWA's Straight Outta Compton. You know, the group that gave us Eazy-E, Ice Cube, and Doc motherfucking Dre.
I did not like this album. I don't like this genre, this mini genre within a genre. I'm more New York hip hop, not LA rap, especially not gangster rap. I mean, I know the hits off of this, and I watched the movie. It's not my jam whatsoever.
Oh, that's just it. It's like, it is. I mean, for me, this thing is fire. I mean, Straight Outta Compton, Fuck the Police. MC Ren's solo track, If It Ain't Rough, is so fucking funky and groovy. It just, you can't not move to this song. And granted, it also samples Average White Band's A Star in the Ghetto, which makes a ton of sense why it's so funky. But it's also like his other solo song, Quiet on the Set, is also great. But it's like, one of the things where, while this isn't new or anything, by this point, I'm trying to write my notes. I can't do it. This album shows where turntablism kind of took us. The use of multiple samples to create backbeats of these songs. It's like, this is something, like I said, kind of like the culmination of a lot of these practices that we saw, with Run DMC, with what we didn't get to do because I dropped the ball on this one, but Africa Bambaataa, of course, the album that we did, The Message that we did earlier,
right?
All these things kind of came together for this, and especially this year, we a lot of the albums that we cover. And sorry, I'm hearing myself on your speaker.
Oh, sorry. Moving it away.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, I'm sorry, I'm just getting distracted. I'm getting distracted and like, oh great, I'm
Shiny
getting
object.
that reverb sound. But one of the best things though is the song "Express Yourself," which is this on this album of anger and this is what life's like on the streets. You have "Express Yourself," which is a pretty uplifting track, and it's it's definitely not everyone's cup of tea, obviously. But there's so much talent in this album that it's kind of criminal that this album is kind of not lost, but everyone has such bigger careers now that this album feels like we're forgetting where it started.
Yeah.
Even though there's a movie.
Right. So, my turn?
But what do you got?
Okay,
yeah,
so my next one is He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper by Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. One of the very first albums I ever bought. Does it hold up as well as I remember it? No. But is it very comforting to listen to an album I listened to 9,000 times as a child? I knew like a lot of the samples and the beats and stuff like that now because I'm more educated in music, and it was a lot of fun going, hey, I know that one. That one's, this. Of course, this is notorious for two things. First off, this is the first album I think that ever hit number one that also won a Grammy. Well, parents just don't understand really pushing it out there to the mainstream. But Nightmare on My Street was the one where they didn't get clearance for samples, and they got sued, and they had to pay up a big chunk of cash.
Well, I think they got sued because of the video that they made for it.
Oh, because they used the music.
They used the samples, but that's partially because it was a song that was written for Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Was it? Okay.
Didn't get on the soundtrack. So it's I know that it's the video, and I think you can find the video on YouTube now.
Okay.
I did not go looking for it, so don't quote me, even though I'm being put on wax here.
The DJ skills I think are the most important part of this. I think sometimes now looking back, Will Smith's rapping skills, they're fine, but they're also very simple, like meant for kids. It seemed like it was meant for like, oh hey, white teenagers in the suburbs. This is your opening door to that rap world.
Yeah, this thing it's a very infectiously upbeat and fun album.
Yeah, but some of the tracks have insanely good DJ work. Samples like Charlie Mack First Out the Limo, I think is amazing. Brand New Funk is is really entertaining. But I do think at the end they just filled it with like useless tracks. Like the last three are just completely useless.
Yeah. It's shortly thereafter after this one that we got Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it's a lot of kind of proof in this because Will Smith very much feels like a fun, charismatic person on this album, that it makes sense that, hey, let's see if this guy can act. Oh, he can act? Let's put him in things because we think he's very charming and fun.
Yeah. You know what's funny is Parents Just Don't Understand is one of the most convoluted, confusing songs because he spends the first half talking about how his parents are so fucking cheap they won't get him modern clothes. But then the second half of the song, same kids, same parents, they have a hot rod and he's going to go ride it around. I'm like, what? No, what? That doesn't line up.
Well, it's never supposed to. It's all fantasy anyway.
Yeah. It's just a fun, simple album. I think the next one is probably his... No, what's next is... And in this corner, the one with I Fought Mike Tyson, it's Summertime, whatever that one's called. I mean, it is called.
Yeah, the one that's after that one, which was it 90 or 91?
Yeah, 91. That's like his best production. All right, your turn.
But yeah, okay. My next one is Cocteau Twins, Bluebell Knoll, and basically this thing is just an ethereal, chill album.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot to say because basically this is just something that you can put on and relax and maybe fall asleep to.
I did.
It's like that psychic TV album I had you listen to. Like, this is more of an experience than it is like an album so much. You tune in, you allow it to wash over you, and you just kind of drift away. It's goth music, but it's not, like a lot of the other gothy stuff that I've had where it's just kind of been existential dread and stuff like that. This is just kind of more, peace with the universe sort of thing, but not in a hippy dippy sort of way.
I have nothing to say. It was just like one of those relaxing albums I fell asleep to, and I was like, oh, yeah, that was pleasant.
Yeah, Cocteau Twins do some very, very good work. This kind of hit for them, but it really is Heaven or Las Vegas that kind of introduced them to the United States, and then they immediately went away after that too. They've always been just kind of like one of those bands just off to the side, where if you like that style of music, you'll like it. So yes, if you like Enya, definitely check this shit out, or at least this album.
All right, so my next album is Even Worse by Weird Al, the big comeback album, because the previous one, Polka Party, stunk up the joint. It bombed hard, and this saved his career. Looking back on it now, it's not that strong compared to a lot of his stuff, and I think the parodies are lazy, but what I do love are the originals. That they're a parody of a style, not so much of a certain song, but You Make Me, which is kind of like an Oingo Boingo song, Melanie, that one is... I love the ones that are dark and creepy, that are supposed to sound like they're sweet, and Good Old Days. They're really fucked up. Well, it's like, I really like Alimony. I think I'm a Clone Now is definitely my favorite song of the album. This album, like Lasagna, is terrible. It's a really crappy La Bamba parody. But this thing is, this album sails simply on the fact that the video for Fat is amazing. The song has kind of lost its luster on me over the years, but that video is something I'll still watch because it's just so so good. I think off that is how they got UHF.
What about UHF?
Oh, I said I think because of the strength of that video is how they got hired to do UHF.
Oh, definitely. Because I think that the director of UHF is his video director. So.
Correct. Yeah, at the time. Now he does his own stuff.
Yeah. But it very much shows that the stuff about this album is, you're right. I don't think it's, in retrospect, as good as later material. Like, we did his third album, and that's kind of like where you see all the bones start to come together. we get here, and it's the strength of his original material that kind of is better showcased than his parodies.
Right.
And then into the 90s, that's kind of where these materials start to mesh really well, because then it's just hit after hit after hit.
Right, and he hasn't done the polka medley on a couple albums. He did it with Dare to Be Stupid, and he would bring that back, I think, in 92 or 96, and that's when it became a regular thing.
Yeah. So I think it's like the last one that doesn't have the medley.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels naked without it. Having listened to a lot of his, knowing most of his later albums than this one.
Right. All right, what's next?
All right, my next album is Danzig, a.k.a. Danzig 1, self-titled album from former Misfit singer Glenn Danzig.
Can I tell you this? This is the best album you chose.
What's that?
I've never heard Danzig in my life except for that song Mother. I love this album.
I'll be honest, this is probably the only good Danzig album. Danzig 2's alright, but for the most part, this is the best thing, including all of Sam Ween, all of his, everything that he's done. This is, and all the Misfit stuff, this is the best thing he's done, is Danzig 1, and it's, produced by Rick Rubin. It has, not just not Mother, but Twist of Cain.
Oh, yeah,
She Rides.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is
Like,
what he was doing at the time was kind of a throwback to the Doors and like muddy, dark metal of the '70s, or not even that. Like, damn it, Fear the Reaper, don't fear.
Blue Oyster Cult.
Blue Oyster Cult, stuff like that. He has inflections of that and Thin Lizzy in this album. He's not doing what every other metal guy was either thrash or hair metal, glam metal, I guess is what it's called now. But he just went to he was kind of like the Cult. They were doing their own thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is this whole album was kind of... basically, Rick Rubin hired him to American because we wanted Sam Ween, but it was this, death rock punk group, and you can get this element here and this element here, and we're going to maybe kind of heavy up and slow down your sound a bit, and we're going to make this interesting sonicascape. So it's like Danzig had creative freedom on this, but Rick Rubin did kind of, it was kind of like this was his brainchild, really.
Yeah, so he's molding it. And they fill the mold.
Yeah. Which is funny, is because there's also, I almost say it's like one of the most weirdly sexy sexual songs on the, like ever heard is She Rides, which is, it's a very sexy song, but it's not like stripper sexy like Motley Crue or even like a Marvin Gaye, sensually sexy. It's just metal sexy?
Yeah.
Something.
Okay, but metal sexy is a new word I've never heard before.
This is a hell of an album. But yeah, this is a hell of an album.
Yeah, I really do.
And if you've never listened to it, this is, again, the best one of his stuff.
Okay.
So what you got?
Operation Mindcrime, the breakthrough for Queensryche. I literally have nothing to say. I don't know why. I chose this. I think another one just to fall at the 10, and it was critically acclaimed. It's fine. I like it. It's a story-based album, which concept albums can be really amazing or just fall apart. And I think it succeeds.
Yeah, the story's about Nikki, a heroin addict, who ends up becoming a puppet he's turned into a assassin puppet of a corrupt demagogue. He falls in love with a former prostitute turned nun, starts to break away from his programming, only to lose the prostitute / nun. Spirals into insanity, ends up in a mental hospital, then realizes what he became and how broken he is. And yeah, I like this album enough, but because I remember you saying that you hadn't heard much in the way of Queensryche before.
Yeah.
So I was debating doing this one, and then I went, yeah, but Empire's a better album.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is Empire the one after this?
Empire's the one after this.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I've heard. So, I mean, bits and pieces.
Yeah, I was going to go with that one, or I was going to do Promised Land, which is the follow-up to that, which is actually the first Queensryche album I heard, and I love that one to completely. I think as a whole, I think both those albums are far better than anything Mindcrime has. But yeah, Mindcrime is a good prog rock album.
Yeah.
/ metal album. Not
really single oriented.
No, you got what? Operation Mindcrime and God, I think it's like the last song in the album are really things that could be their own singles, but even then, not so much because it's all part of the story.
All right, your turn.
All right, we got Fishbone's Truth and Soul.
I love this one too. I forgot. I really enjoyed this, but I've already been listening to Fishbone for about a year now, and I'm down. I'm down, buddy.
That's the thing. It's one of those bands where I really listened. I wish I had listened to them earlier in life, because this album in particular, it's funk reggae ska. It's wild. You got Freddy's Dead, which is this wicked cover of the Curtis Mayfield song from Superfly.
Uh-huh.
Ma and Pa is this ska track that feels like it fell backwards in time from like a decade ahead. There's...
Yeah, it sounds like it's something from The Urge. I don't know if you know The Urge, but yeah.
No, but it does sound like it's a late 90s ska track. But you have like Mighty Long Way, feels like it's a different, from a different band. Like it's a funkier Boston track. It's like... I'm not a big fan of ska, but everything about this album is an example of what I like about ska.
I love ska. You're going to suffer in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're going to suffer.
But yeah, it's such a... It was this, or I think, one... There's like, not the next album, but the album after it are both, like, just things I was toying with doing, and this one just kind of won out. But also, I still probably jump and do another Fishbone album later.
Yeah.
But what you got next?
All right, so the next one I have is EPMD, Strictly Business. Maybe the best hip-hop album that nobody recognizes as a classic. And I'm telling you, listening to it now, and I said it yesterday on social media, I'm guaranteeing you, Paul's Boutique, the bones were laid for that album with this.
What's this? I don't think I've ever... Well, I know I never heard this album, but I feel like I've heard Strictly Business at some point. That song. And, it's like, that I think is awesome. I'm Hausen is a sick track. But then, kind of after that, the album falls off a bit for me.
I quit the show.
Yeah, it's not that it's bad. It's not that it's bad. And Eric and Parrish flow really well. It's like, it's just, those initial tracks do kind of catch you, but it doesn't manage to hold you at any point after that. Just kind of like, yeah, here's some more songs. Check it out. I think DJ Kayla Boss, that is an amazing turntablism track, though.
Yeah. Here's what I think the problem is maybe for people, because you've heard all of this before. But this is the first album I've ever heard this at this time. I've never heard samples mixing like this before. This is a breakthrough album for me because I don't think anybody else was attempting this.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. Their use of sample... Well, actually, I think that's more of like Eric B, though. Eric B and Rakim, I think, is the one that use a little bit... use a little bit... samples a little bit differently, and I think
we might as well just flow right into that. We'll do 2 years in a row because that's my next one. I think Eric B and Rakim is more DJ oriented. They're not interested in singles, whereas EPMD is looking for singles. Well, it seems like Eric B and Rakim are trying to do like a concept prog rock of hip hop, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's like this album it's so damn smooth. It's like a good whiskey. Rakim's vocals aren't spilling out like bile, like on Straight Outta Compton. It's jazz. His, and this is kind of a dumb sounding thing, I admit, but his vocals are more of an instrument than a tool of communication or preaching or anything like that.
No, I get that.
Yeah, it's like he's not. It doesn't like he's not like out to change the world like KRS-One, or he's not there to show you how shitty things are like NWA.
Right.
He's giving us art, and it's like the samples and everything. It complements the beats more than kind of overlay or take the lead on songs. It's all like perfectly composed as opposed to like free form or something where it's just a DJ doing something. This is a lot more kind of purposeful, if that even makes sense. Or else I'm seeming like I'm hoping I'm not like sounding like I'm trying to downplay anyone's talent.
No. I completely get it. It's just
this
different
is
vibes.
filled with so much talented.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Now I've done 2 in a row. You do 2 in a row.
All right, so let me get my notes back up, and we will do 2 of my albums in a row. All right, Neil Young's "This Note's for You."
I was surprised
Now,
how much I like this. It's bluesy. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's like I keep throwing you curveballs, don't I?
Yeah,
'Cause
I prefer the curveballs.
Yeah, it's like, that's the thing is like, I've never been a huge Neil Young fan, but it's like I've heard Harvest. I know Buffalo Springfield. Thanks to my dad, I know Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. But this was, no offense to my dad and all the stuff that he played, this was really my introduction to Neil Young, because the music video to this was such a interesting concept where he's just sitting there and making fun of 80s advertising and all that, and the track being about how he's not a sellout.
Yeah, I remember that.
And everything else on this album ends up being this amazing blues rock thing that it's just, it's not that I won't say it's the album that sold me on blues rock or made me a fan of blues rock, but it just makes me love blues rock all that much more.
It's a mixture of blues and bar band, because that was a big thing in the 80s because of Huey Lewis and News and all those other guys. Like guys that grew, spent a decade working in the bar scene before they broke out. It feels like it's influenced by that as well.
Oh, very much so. And just imagine seeing this album performed live with that horn section.
Yeah.
I wish I was 10 to 15 years older, just so that I would have had that opportunity to have seen that in my youth.
Yeah, it's if you bring horns pretty much into anything, I'm fucking there.
Yeah, God, it's this album. I don't know if necessarily it's my favorite album of the pick of all these ones I picked, but if it's not the top album, it's pretty damn close.
Okay.
Now, my next one is Sonic Youth's Daydream Nation.
Oh shit! I forgot to listen to one.
Oh, you did, huh?
Yes, I just realized I didn't listen to that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it's Sonic Youth is noise rock. It's kind of like the Pixies if the Pixies weren't, completely full of themselves.
Uh-huh.
Although Sonic Youth is still kind of full of themselves. But that's the thing is, if you're our age or maybe leaning towards Michael's age, this is an album that you probably familiar with. Yeah, which by saying that, I'm a little shocked that you don't know this one?
No, I've never listened to Sonic Youth.
Yeah, because like this one, it's like kind of like even if I didn't really, I kind of started listening to music like around '93. But it's like I still ended up hearing about Daydream Nation. It was like Nevermind or Melancholy Infinite Sadness. It just kind of was there. Just the strength of Teenage Riot, especially, just it sits there and kind of takes a hold of you. And this really did kind of break them big, and so they ended up getting a chance to go onto a major label. And I'll be honest, Teenage Riot is still really the best song on the album.
Uh-huh.
Everything else is kind of fluctuates. There's some really I had forgotten that it's because it's a double-sized album.
Right.
I keep kind of forgetting that it does kind of have filler in it, and the filler isn't as good. It definitely feels like they were padding for this one, even though this is, again, the album that really got them noticed.
Right, the bigger label one to sign them.
Yeah, it still feels padded and a bit overlong. But if at the same time, though, if you're going to listen to a Sonic Youth album, this is still the first one I would throw in front of anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like Goo. Goo's pretty good, but yeah, I'd still say, here, try that. So what is your next one?
My next one is Metallica and Justice for All. Really nothing to say. You don't know this album, there's something wrong. Like, you were in a coma. Sorry. You need to catch up.
No.
The last, real thrash album till Death Magnetic. Because the next one is when they kind of start expanding their sound. Just lots of classics on there. I don't think it's their best thrash album. I still think that's Ride the Lightning, but that's really all I have to say. It's a really well-known album, so there isn't a whole lot to dive into.
Yeah, chronologically speaking, this might be the first metal album I ever heard. Because an older cousin of mine was babysitting me in 89 or 90. I can't remember exactly when. And he played something that was metal. And this was probably it, because I doubt he was going to be playing me Slayer or something. So, I know this album like the back of my hand. It is a solid album, but it's also, like you said, kind of the beginning of Metallica's decline. Black Album is still...
I never say that. I never said those words. I just say that it's their change, because I still respect their albums, except for Saint Anger, which I cannot get through.
No. Saint Anger is a piece of shit completely. But that's the thing, it's the Black Album... while I'm not going to bitch at it like some people might, that it's not a thrash album, it's still a perfect gateway album to get people into metal. Load and Reload, I think we might, at least on my end, we may talk about Reload, maybe both of them, but if we do both, I'll talk to you about that later.
Okay.
But that's the thing, is they kind of slide down until they get back up to thrash with Death Magnetic, and that's kind of return to form. But yeah, it's this is kind of the beginning of that downward curve. But it's, listening to Harvest of Sorrow I forgot how crushing that song is, and it's a shame that the bass was basically mixed into oblivion.
Yeah. Because
just imagine how heavy that song would be with Cliff Burton bass. And I've never heard a good live version of this. I have the three discs re-released of this, and it has a live version of it, but you can't really hear the bass. And granted, from what I understand, the bass basically was just chasing the leads. Uh-huh. So there's no, they could have remixed this album and had the bass a little more prominent, but at the same time, it probably wouldn't have brought anything to it. But that's also because Jason Newsted isn't as good a bassist as Burton or even his follow-up Trujillo. So, guy was in the biggest band in the world, but he's not exactly
up to snuff.
Yeah, he's definitely not the same power level as all these other guys.
Right. All right, your turn.
It's understandable also that's why it would be gone. Okay. My next album, then, is gonna be Boogie Down Productions, By All Means Necessary.
This is a middle one for me. I like some of it, but I didn't really like. I don't know. I just feel like it was lower level Public Enemy.
I can see where some of that is, but honestly, I kind of think it really makes me think a little bit more of Grandmaster Flash. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Because you got My Philosophy, Stop the Violence, and I'm Still Number One, which are, these sorts of things where you have KRS-One basically out there preaching stuff, and kind of, yes, he's very braggadocious as well. I'm Still Number One is very, very much a name drop is down with us thing, but it's also filled with very self-reflective lyrics at the same time. So you kind of have this boastful song that is yet also filled with actual introspection. And again, my philosophy, stop the violence, other things that are about wanting to change the world and stuff. And this is just, it's a hell of an album that it's a shame because it's a follow-up to their first album, and a response to the fact that after the first album was released, and the co-founder DJ Scott LaRock was killed.
Oh wow!
Which is basically why this is more or less a KRS-One solo album. Although, looking into it, I'm not sure if there was anyone who necessarily guessed on it or not. Like, because there are some guests, but like DJ rapper beatboxer D Nice was on the first album, and I can't figure out if he is actually on this one or not. Looking up, credits and stuff. But yeah, this thing, like with NWA, you have a lot of stuff that is still true today, and it's really fucking sad to hear that we have yet to find, grow from this bullshit of skin color being, it's illegal to be a certain skin color in this country sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best things about this is the last track is this spoken word outro called Necessary, which is about the hypocrisy of what is acceptable violence in this country. And it's like, I kind of wish it was an intro to the album, but you kind of, having this thing you leave this album with a sermon, and you get these final thoughts, and I think that also worked really well. So, it's a shame you didn't like it as much.
Nah. I also got overwhelmed with too many albums all at once. I got really locked in on EPMD so much, and I was like, yeah, this is my shit right here. I think I listened to it like 6 times.
But alright, so what do you got next?
Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather. That was the very first thing I put on this list, and I can't fucking remember a thing about it. Can I tell you that I forgot to eat something before I started drinking? And I'm a lightweight.
Oh no.
Am I mentioning this yet? Oops.
Well, we're both enjoying our good beverage.
I just remember Run's House, of course, being a big single off this, but Mary Mary is the one that I love because I'm a huge Monkees fan. Don't you give me any shit. I love the Monkees. And it's a cover of that, and I really enjoy it. That's the only thing I can fucking remember. Besides, it's like a soundtrack to a movie that I've never seen, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely a soundtrack to a film where it's actually directed by Rick Rubin, and I've never seen it either, so I don't know. But yeah, this is hell. Run DMC. Looking at it, it's like they're really, along with Anthrax, like the progenitors of new metal. Because they use a lot of hard rock and metal in their music. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, this album's alright. It's part of the problem with this is it's kind of like And Justice for All, where it's a little bit hurt by the fact the previous album is a fucking masterpiece. And how do you follow up on that?
Right, right.
And like
it does seem like it's a letdown from the last one.
Yeah, it's like Run's House, Mary Mary, Tougher Than Leather are amazing. On the version that I listened to has what was a non-album track, Christmas in Hollis, which is an amazing track. But everything else in there is just kind of there. And it's like, part of it's like, I try to take each of these albums as a piece of art on their own because, nothing exists in a vacuum. You do end up kind of comparing it to other things that we've listened to, and compared to a lot of the other albums we've listened to, especially the hip-hop ones, it's not as solid. But still, it's Run DMC. most Run DMC is better than no Run DMC.
Right, as I say, they had a huge comeback. I remember in like '93 with Down with the King. And
I definitely think it's not that their last, not Crown Royal, but it's the one right before it. I really want to take a listen to because maybe that might be the one that we're thinking of because it has like Tom Morello on it and Q-Tip. And
yeah.
It's like I really want to take a listen to that one.
God damn it! Why did I drink? I just started drinking the minute I got home. We're like 40 minutes into this, and I need to go eat some food. Let's hurry up and finish this album before I throw off.
Yeah, let's rush it. We got two more albums to go each, or I got two at least. Next one is Living Color, Vivid.
Oh god, now I used to listen to it all the time when I was a kid because my friend Andy McDaniel said this is his favorite, so we listened to it at his house all the time. It was very comforting to revisit an old friend.
Yeah.
But not Andy McDaniel because that asshole, all he would do is talk about the same shit from high school years and years later. He's like that guy in that song, Golden Years. What's Glory Years by Bruce Springsteen? If that song was a person, it's Andy McDaniel. And you remember that time freshman year? Yes, god damn it. Every single fucking time I see you have to go over the story.
But, oh man, this album just... It's a hard rock funk album. It's, maybe you also be called funk punk. It is, Cult of Personality just starts everything off, kicks your ass, and then it never stops. Like, it's a little bit, it does vary a little bit because you've got, like, Open Letter to a Landlord, which is like this arena rock song. But, oh my god, it's like so funky, so hard. It's just a wicked album. I love this album so much.
I'm trying to remember what album we're talking. Oh, and Living Color. Sorry. Fuck. I'm an idiot. I hate this. Okay, so my next one is Traveling Wilburys, self-titled. Just a collection of some of the greatest guys in adult rock at the time. We had Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, George Harrison. What's the guy from...
Jeff Lynne,
and Roy Orbison. Sadly, I think Roy Orbison died before it was over, right? Before they finished recording.
Yeah,
it's just
really. No, I think they finished recording, but he died after. Just shortly thereafter.
It's just a really fun, layered album. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's nothing. I will say this: there's nothing wrong with this album in any way. I will say that it does sound like. 5 people who make more or less different types of music, making 5, an album that's filled with 5 guys who make different kinds of music. So each song it doesn't conceptually mesh as well as it really you think you would hope that it would. But none of these songs are bad. It's not, you're not sitting there going, why am I listening to this bullshit? It's like, it's just, oh yeah, it's a singles collection of, a bunch of people who got together and just said, fuck it, we're making an album.
Yeah, and you're right. It does have a different flow through it. Every song is slightly different. It's just like everybody coming together to write friends for each other. Do I write friends for each other? I write songs for each other.
Yeah, they all basically kind of got together, I love reading, I remember one of the stories when they got together where it's like, I think it was George Harrison went to Bob Dylan and just kind of like, yes, I know, you're Bob Dylan. You are amazing. We're going to treat you like you're anyone else. And Bob Dylan basically kind of went, yes, I'm in awe of all of you, and I agree. We're just going to talk to you like you're anyone else. So they basically, all these guys who you would imagine have big egos and it's my way or the highway, all sat down and went, we're going to make an album and push all that ego aside to do what's best for each song.
And somehow managed to do more than one.
Yeah.
Because, these supergroups are really hard to hold together.
Although, again, it's kind of a shame. Well, it's a shame, but it's also funny that the second album is Volume 3.
What?
And what they've always kind of felt was, is Traveling Wilburys Volume 1, and their second album is Volume 3. And kind of a joke would be as if they had ever put out a bootleg of a live show, that would be Volume 2. Album titles, that's all.
Yeah, okay. Where are we at?
Okay, we're on, I think, my last one. Yeah, so do we want to say what our things that we could have put on there was?
Nah, no. They all suck.
All right.
I had so much trouble just getting 10. But you can if you
I had
want.
some good ones. Okay, a couple of ones I was thinking of. Dead Milkman's Beezle Bubba.
I forgot that even existed. He still
What Up,
said it all the
Dog?
time. Son of a bitch.
My Life with a Thrill Kill Colt's debut album. One Day We Will Get a Skinny Puppy on here. Lita Ford's Lita album. Public Enemies, It Takes a Nation of Millions.
Oh, yeah, that almost made it on mine.
Pixies Surf a Rosa, which is like the only Pixies album I like. And Girls' Schools Take a Bite. But my last one is Paula Abdul's Forever Your Girl.
Oh, God, it's so comforting hearing this album. This was going to make my list, but you got it first. And every time I hear Straight Up, I get so fucking happy. I love it.
But it's just like Opposites Attract is such a banger, and it has that awesome video with her dancing around with the cartoon MC Scat Cat.
Yeah, that was such a fun video. That and, well, there's so many singles off of this one, and I might be wrong about this. I'm not going to do the research, because why bother? I want to be wrong. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, I think, were producers on this, and that's what I named my testicles.
Oh.
Sorry, I've always had a nickname for my balls.
Sorry, audience.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. For like 30 years now, that's been their name.
But I will say this though, Forever Your Girl, I always get that song mixed up with Shanice's I Love Your Smile for some reason.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, the songs sound nothing alike, but for some reason it's just that the I Love Your Smile just turns into Forever Your Girl in my head.
And this is literally the only album with this kind of sound that I will fucking tolerate, because this is a plague from 87 to like 91, 92 throughout pop music that makes me want to fucking chunder.
Yeah, it's like New Jack Swing is a fun genre to listen to.
There's some
but
of this
if you listen
New
to
Jack
too
Swing,
much
some
of it,
is just shit.
But, yeah, the problem is too much of it is so redundant, and they really they went way too into that.
Yeah, the synth pop.
Like,
we're trying to pretend everything's just a fucking shitty synth.
But probably my favorite song in this album is "I Need You," because oh my god, the awesome '80s sax on it is just chef's kiss. I love that song, and it's like not even based on nostalgia, because if I was gonna base my favorite song on nostalgia, yeah, it's like Straight Up or Opposites Attract. But "I Need You" is such a better song than both.
I was wrong. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis aren't on this one. They must have been on Janet Jackson's. This one has L.A. Reid, Babyface, and Glenn Ballard. Those are the guys that are big producers during this time. She's not the greatest singer in the world. You can tell it's slipped a little bit through the music. It's kind of covering up. She has a thin sound, but I still think she has a keen ear for ear for picking what would make a hit song.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's surprising that it's like you have this girl who was picked up to be a cheerleader for the Lakers, ended up becoming their choreographer, ended up becoming a music video choreographer, and then just kind of went, I can sing, and got a record deal.
Yeah. At least they have to use auto-tune to cover it up like they do everybody fucking now.
Yeah, no. At least she can sing, at least somewhat.
Yeah,
as
it's kind of like
to
the Britney Spears role. I still say Britney Spears can sing, but when you compare her to like her fellow Mickey Mouse Club people like Christina Aguilera, it's not even close. She has a thinner sound.
Yeah. Yeah, she wouldn't have had a very long storied career had she just stuck with the singing. She was smart enough to at least kind of find a way to make herself relevant by becoming a singing judge. But your last one.
My last one is really simple. This is more like the way you had with Cocteau Twins. Is Shadowy Men on a Shadowy Planet. The album like The Savvy Show, something. I can't remember. It's more of like just a mood. It's just classic surf music mixed with kind of like a more modern sound, at least, for 80s modern sound. If you know the name, but you're not sure where it connects, they do the theme song for Kids in the Hall.
That was the thing, is I never knew this band's name, and then, it's like, I saw Having an Average Weekend, and I'm like, oh wait, that's the theme song for Kids in the Hall, as you said, and because I only knew that because I had gotten the song from Brain Candy. Yeah. It was off my Spotify, so I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm curious what these guys sound like, and then I don't want to say disappointed, but it's like, okay. But it's kind of like you got Good Cop, Bad Cop, which I go like, I started my notes like, this sounds a little like the theme to Kids in the Hall. And then as I go, I'm like, is this all instrumental? And then, like, okay, it's surf rocky. It's okay. But really it's kind of geared to fans of the stuff. And then by the time I got to the end of it, I went, they really should have just been a soundtrack band, like doing scores.
Oh, yeah, like Tangerine Dream and Pray for Rain kind of did.
Yeah, they really should be doing TV sound, scores and things like that. Granted, it's very surf rocky, so they are a little limited, but it did feel like their instrumental stuff really kind of geared itself towards that mental picture for me. So
that's it.
It's not bad, but definitely not what I was expecting.
I gotta go. I gotta eat something to soak this up. I feel like an asshole. I'm really sorry, John. I just didn't think about it. I had no food, and I was just slowly sipping this throughout the whole episode, and now I'm not well. Alright, so we're gonna save video games for another episode next week. I swear to God, I'll be sober. I gotta go. We're on Facebook under Hit Rewind. John, where are you at?
I'm on Twitter, Musician, MYUZISHION. I'm also streaming on Twitch. Same name, Musician. Do video game stuff. Playing Mass Effect. It's awesome.
Cool. Bye, everybody!
Later.